Yo, what is happening, Master Crew? This is my second reaction video. Today, it's my fourth video I've recorded today. But here we have Michael, MandJTV. Subscribe to him. And this is his first 100 days in Minecraft, and I will be reacting. Michael, I didn't ask permission. If you need to, if you need to, comment and I will take down this video if it's requested. Anyways, moving on. This is his first 100 days in Minecraft. Let's see how that went. In 3, 2, 3, 2, psych. First, you gotta subscribe and like the video. What are you doing? Now, let's start.
I am pretty new to Minecraft. My first time ever playing the game was only a few months ago, and it was... Do I have to kill this thing? Interesting. Now, I've played quite a bit since then, but all of my playing has been with other people who can help me out or rescue me when things go wrong. I decided it was finally time for me to gain some Minecraft independence, so I spent 100 days in Minecraft survival completely alone for the very first time. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel, MandJTV Plays.
And my channel, Master.
Day 1 began, and I spawned in a hilly field area with a river, some forests, and some mountains nearby. I immediately began punching trees, made myself a crafting table and wooden pickaxe, then ran over to the mountain to get some stone and make some stone tools. I then killed some sheep to make a bed, because I had no intention of staying up through the mob-infested night anytime soon. Then I made a boat to do some exploring along the river, and while it was clearly an expansive river, I didn't find anything particularly interesting. The sun was beginning to set, so I headed back to my spawn area, quickly set down my bed in the open field, and went to sleep. I started day 2 by gathering some materials, then made myself a furnace to cook food. After taking a quick look at the lava pool right below where I built my base, I headed off to grab some coal from the mountains. I used some of it to cook my mutton, then used most of the rest to make torches. After some more tree chopping, it was time for another night under the stars. On day 3, I finally began building a structure around my bed, using oak planks for the walls and birch wood for the floor. This took all day, but by the end of it, my home was an extremely ugly wooden box. But hey, home is where the heart and, well, mostly the bed is. By the way, I should probably mention that all 100 days were played in version 1.16. I know 1.17 is out now, but I finished the 100 days a few days.
And you might be asking, Matt, where are your glasses? I thought you were supposed to be wearing them. They're here. I just don't want to wear them.
Before 1.17 came out. Also, I should say that I did not play in hardcore mode.
It's like Pokemon. I was like, why would you play in hardcore?
Obviously. Not only is this my first time ever playing alone, but I don't play Pokemon Nuzlocke because I hate the permanent punishments for failure. Hardcore Minecraft is that on steroids, and I genuinely never intend to play it. I would be miserable the entire time. On day 4, after mining a bit of coal in the mountains, I began digging down not far from my base. I did this until my pickaxes broke and I had to return to the surface, and by that time the sun was setting. To finish the day off, I added some decorative cobblestone columns on the outside of my box house, then went to sleep. On day 5, I continued the staircase down and quickly found my first iron. I dug down for quite some time, finding a good chunk of iron in the process, but then also finding emeralds. Several people once commented on one of my other Minecraft videos correcting Purple Cliff when he said that diamonds were the rarest thing in Minecraft, saying that emeralds were actually rarer. And while I believe you for like total number of actual blocks of them in the entire world, let me tell you right now, I found emeralds a lot more frequently than diamonds in these 100 days.
Pause. So, Mikey, I know exactly why that was. Even if you found more emeralds than you did diamonds, if emeralds are rarer than diamonds, you spawn in an extreme hills biome in which emeralds are more common. Just like if you spawn in a mesa, gold is more common. Just wanted to point that out just so you knew. I know I'm not trying to be a snob, but I just had to bring it up. Back to the video.
Upon finding the emeralds, I knew I needed an iron pickaxe to mine them. At least I think I did. So I headed back up and made my first iron pickaxe. By that time it was sunset, so after starting to make the roof of my box house taller before running out of time, I went to bed. Day 6 started with me finishing making my box house taller. Once that was done, I crafted my first piece of armor, an iron chest plate, then headed back down to mine the emerald. Then headed right back up to store it because I was scared of losing it. I then made a shield.
Mikey, I understand what you're saying here. You don't want to die. If you die, you lose your experience up to level 7. Level 30 is what you need for max enchantments. It's going to take a while, but I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. And you also lose all your materials, but I'm still getting ahead of myself. Let's continue.
An item I consider invaluable for combat in this game. I cut down and planted a few trees, and then it was time for bed. On day 7, I continued the staircase for just a bit until I hit bedrock, thus realizing I had gone too low. I went back up to Y level 11 and dug just 2 or 3 blocks before hitting a mine shaft. I didn't explore it further though, as it appeared to just be a weird small segment of one that didn't continue far in either direction. So I continued my strip mining forward until my pickaxe was on the verge of breaking. I headed back up to make another one, then decided it was time I got a reliable source of food. The first step to this was a wheat farm, and I spent the rest of day 7 making fences for that and doing a bit of assembly. On day 8, I finished my small wheat farm by enclosing it, hoeing the ground, and clearing out a bunch of grass to get enough seeds to fill it. I then made some more iron armor, covering everything but my stylish hat, which you can get in real life at MandJTVmerch.com in the very near future. Or right now, it depends on when you're watching this. I then did a small bit of mountain exploring to get some spruce wood, since I decided I wanted a second floor of my home, but I didn't get far and had to turn back early. On day 9, while continuing my spruce gathering, I noticed a ruined nether portal, which was very exciting. The chest had quite a few iron nuggets, some golden apples, and 2 golden helmets, so I finally had a whole set of armor to wear.
The sky is clear and the sun is shining. Time to get...
I left the obsidian since I had to. I didn't have a diamond pickaxe yet, but I took the gold blocks. I then did some flower decorating out front of the box house in an effort to make it look less like a dumb box, but I got caught up in my inability to have the dirt stay as dirt under the flowers. I had to go to sleep, and then the next day on day 10, I finished the flowers up, then decided to climb to the top of the nearby mountain to scope things out. Plus, made a simple lighthouse column in case I got lost, but I still couldn't see any interesting biomes I didn't already have access to. I then ventured the opposite way of the mountain and found a mushroom forest, allowing me to harvest some dark oak, the best type of wood. I didn't get much done before I had to turn back, but on day 11 I headed right back to chop some more. I spent basically the entire day gathering dark oak, except at the very end of the day when I started making a staircase. It was finally time for the box house to become an actual house, which I would accomplish by adding a second floor. As day 12 and my work on the second floor began, a spider was rude enough to attack me. I dealt with it like a pro, though, and it became my first monster kill of the game. The rest of the day was more work on the second floor, including the beginning of a triangular cobblestone roof made of cobblestone stairs. Day 13 was exclusively spent on the roof. The first half of day 14 was also spent on the roof, then the second half was spent on making a decorative cobblestone stair connecting layer between the regular oak first floor and the dark oak second floor. The first half of day 15 was spent on the roof, but then I ran out of cobblestone and had to head to the strip mine to get more, which I spent the rest of the day doing. Day 16 was more mining, but this time I mined out smaller branches off the main strip. Day 17 was spent entirely on the roof again, and I had almost finished it when the sun set. On day 18, I finally finished the roof, then spent the time I had left continuing my cobblestone columns up through the walls of the second floor. The box house was now a top-heavy house, because the second floor now dwarfed the first. On day 19, I headed back into the mine, and as I was setting up a chest and crafting table down there, I was stunned to see a skeleton appear in what I thought was the dead-end mini mine shaft. After killing it, I realized that one side was not a dead end, and was in fact just a corner. And just around that corner were my very first diamonds of the world just sitting there. I did a bit of poking around and had to deal with multiple monsters, but soon I headed back up to craft my first diamond item, a diamond pickaxe. I then took that pickaxe to the ruined portal to grab my first obsidian, but I wasn't able to do much before the sun started setting and I had to head home. Day 20 started with me harvesting my wheat, which I intended to use to start a cow pen. In my experience, steak has been the most effective food, so I wanted an easy source of it. I cut down more trees for enough wood to make more fence pieces, then I expanded my wheat farm since I looked up and discovered one water block could moisten a 9x9 square, much larger than my initial farm. I started the cow pen, but didn't finish it before sunset. On day 21, I finished the cow enclosure, then mowed the lawn for more wheat seeds to fill out the larger wheat farm. I then lured some nearby cows into it and had them breed immediately. I spent the rest of the day poking around for more flowers and captured another cow in the process. I finished the day by adding a nice path in front of my house and placing some more flowers. On day 22, I headed back into the mine to further explore the mine shaft, encountering a few skeletons and finding more diamonds, emeralds, and a chest minecart in the process. It was very nerve-wracking the entire time. As I mentioned earlier, I don't like gaming with permanent punishments for failure or death, but I also don't like it when there are severe punishments for failure, even if the punishments aren't technically permanent. Vanilla Minecraft counts as the latter to me, because while you can get your stuff back, assuming it didn't fall into lava, you lose your experience points and can only reclaim up to level 7. That's a pretty severe punishment in my eyes because it takes a really long time to get from level 7 to level 30, which is the level you need for max enchantments. Because of my honestly somewhat irrational fear of losing my experience, I was mostly avoiding combat in this world, and it's the reason why I had slept through every single night so far and would continue to do so for a while. Day 23 began with me prepping for my first long journey away from home. The diamonds I found the previous day meant I could now assemble an enchanting table. However, I still needed books both for the enchanting table itself and the bookshelves to go near it. I decided I needed to venture out to get some materials for books, sugarcane and leather, but also to hopefully find a village. Villages can have bookshelves in them, but also I was hoping I could find one so I could get some villagers for maybe an eventual villager trading hall. My friends created an incredible villager trading hall in the realm we share, and I was hoping to accomplish something similar. Oh, also I wanted sand for glass. Once ready, I headed south into the wilderness, eventually sleeping under the stars. Day 24 continued the journey, but had no interesting discoveries, just generally heading south and east and collecting sugarcane and leather from cows along the way. Day 24 was much the same until the early evening, when I finally stumbled upon my first village. I poked around it for a bit before going to sleep, and my journey was 1/4 done. Day 26 started with me looting the village, part of which was me learning the brewing stands need silk touch to be picked up. Whoopsie! The village unfortunately did not have any bookshelves, so I jotted down the coordinates and headed in what I generally thought was the direction back to my base, northwest. But before long, I found another village. I began looting it and using their furnaces to cook some of the raw steak I had, and then spent the night there. At the start of day 27, I continued looting this second village, and this time found some bookshelves and a lectern. Once that was done, I continued northwest for the rest of the day, spending the night next to a fire caused by a lava fall. On day 28, I continued my journey, eventually stumbling upon some massive icebergs. I was fascinated by this, since it was a biome I had never encountered before. What I would look up to find out was the frozen ocean. I found some polar bears, an animal I wasn't even aware was in the game. After exploring for a little while, I double-checked my coordinates and realized I had gone too far north past my base, so I began heading south. I made it a decent way before having to sleep for the night. I spent the first half of day 29 journeying and made it back home about midday. After some inventory management with the goodies I'd brought back, I headed to my nearby ruined portal to finish harvesting all the obsidian. It was slow, so I spent the night next to the portal. On day 30, I finished harvesting the obsidian, bred some more cows, and...
Side note, why did they get rid of netherrack? I don't understand.
Finally crafted an enchanting table. I still didn't have anywhere near enough blocks to make all the bookshelves to max the table though, so more sugarcane and leather would be needed. I spent the rest of the day decorating the barren and dark upstairs, but when I tried to go to sleep, I couldn't because some monsters were nearby. Some illagers had arrived, so I executed my most daring combat yet and slayed them all.
How did the illagers Was it too close to a village, or was it too much like a village home?
Giving me the bad omen effect. On day 31, I immediately removed the effect using some milk from my cows. I then went back to working on the upstairs, making it look a lot better with big windows, plus some windows downstairs. I placed my enchanting table in the corner of the upstairs, then went to bed. By day 32, I had grown tired of my disorganized and limited storage system, so I began work on a basement meant for organized chests and other useful blocks. Since this entire process was in a safe indoor area, I spent all day and all night working on it, marking the first time in this 100 days that I didn't sleep through the night. On day 33, I continued and finished the basement and organization of all my items, and then slept through the night this time. On the morning of day 34, I planted a bunch of sugarcane along and across the small pond by my top-heavy house, then did other farm maintenance stuff. At the end of the day, I framed my first and only wooden pickaxe above my bed. I then decided to duel a few monsters before heading to bed. On day 35, I decided to head out on another journey, this time to try to find a village closer to my base, since the closest one I'd found so far was 1,000 blocks away. I didn't find any...
Why not look for a close-by water source that connects to the ocean?
Of interest on day 35, aside from the ocean at the end of the day. Day 36 was more exploration and reconnaissance, but I still didn't find anything interesting. That is, not until the end of the day, when I started to suspect the river I was next to might connect back to my base. On day 37, I headed down it, and while I had to dig out some parts to connect it, by the end of the day, I had found a river pathway all the way back to my top-heavy house. This was a huge deal, since that river connected to the ocean, meaning I had a waterway from my base to darn near everywhere. This meant if I could find a coastal village, I could easily transport villagers from that village back to my base, since putting a villager in a boat is the easiest way to transport them. This was video game proof of why so many cities are built along waterways. On day 38, I went back out my new waterway, marking the path with torches as I did. Once I reached the ocean, I wandered aimlessly until I needed to sleep. I continued doing that on day 39 until thrillingly finding a coastal village bordering a mushroom forest right as the sun set. I spent the night on the shore, then spent day 40 looting the cool mushroom-centered village and putting out a random fire before it burned the whole place down. I spent the night there, then on the morning of day 41, I spent quite some time trying to get a villager into my boat, then that boat to the water. Whoever decided that boats should not be able to move up the minuscule thickness from a shoveled path onto grass of the same height has upset me. Eventually, I succeeded, though, spending the rest of the day boating back. I had to sleep on the shoreline while I left my villager friend in the boat, but then on day 42, I got them back to base. I immediately constructed a dock area with some gates, then built a wall around it to protect the villager from mobs overnight. On day 34, he had escaped, since the bed I gave him let him hop out, but I was quick and caught him. I spent the rest of day 43 and all of day 44 carving out a little villager cave home in the hillside, which was more homey than just the boat, but still prevented escape. On day 45, I made several bookshelves and added them to the enchanting table, but it still wasn't enough to max it. I then gave my villager a composter, turning him into a farmer, a job I was under the impression would allow for the easiest emerald making at this point in time. After some more crafting, I almost had enough bookshelves to max the table. On the morning of day 46, I got the last one I needed, but I couldn't do any max enchantments since after all this time, I was still only level 24. So I decided to instead focus on making a carrot and potato farm, since I read online that those were the best crops to trade for emeralds. I spent most of day 46 gathering the wood I needed for that. On day 47, I did some landscape.
Well, that was odd. I'm back. Let's continue.
The carrot and potato farms. But then for some reason that I honestly do not remember, I decided to spend the second half of the day in the mine shaft. During this, I discovered a spider spawner, but not just a spider spawner, a cave spider spawner. I had never seen one before, so its green color and poison damage scared the crap out of me. I hightailed it out of there and slept back at my house. On day 48, I headed back into the mine shaft, having to fight some terrifying child zombies on the way. My target was the cave spider spawner. It had some close calls, but eventually I cleared out all the webbing and covered it in torches, preventing more cave spiders for the time being. I did some more mining and exploration, then went to bed. On day 49, I did some farm work, finally finished the carrot and potato farms, fought some monsters, and then went to bed. Then day 50 started, and I awoke in a sticky spot. Multiple monsters, including a skeleton, a spider, and 2 creepers, were hanging out literally right outside my house. After hanging out afraid for a while, I finally realized my only way out of this was to slay them all. One blew up, but I protected myself. As I was fighting another, a skeleton attacked. I killed it, then killed the creeper, and then a 3rd creeper blew up right against my house, knocking me down to only about a 1/3 health and knocking a chunk out of the side. I hate creepers.
Same.
Quite a bit. After
Sentence him to death! I never summon enough heroes to start the game. Never!
Perhaps I can give you some...
Quite a bit. After killing the spider, the monsters were finally gone. I spent the rest of the halfway day repairing the creeper hole, then using some bone meal to speed up the carrot farm expansion. I spent all of day 51 traveling to the coastal village to fetch another villager. On the morning of day 52, I fetched another one and began boating back home, but on the way back I happened upon an enormous ruined portal that looked to be at least 12 blocks tall, and this one had crying obsidian, but had to spend a night there due to the time it took. After a bit more mining on the morning of day 53, I headed out, somehow being attacked by a witch as I was boating away. No idea where it came from. I made my way back to base, got the new villager in with the first one, turned it into a librarian, then went to bed. At this point, though, I was starting to wonder if I was properly prioritizing things. My idea was to build this villager trading hall to get books of enchantment, but I wasn't generating enough crops to get enough emeralds to trade with the farmer. I also needed more villagers, and to do that I had to breed the villagers, but I wasn't even sure if I should do that the manual way or build an automatic villager breeder, and for that I needed materials, and I didn't have that many materials because I wasn't going into the mine shaft very much because I was so paralyzed with fear of dying. In the realm I have with my friends, they constructed an enormous zombie piglin farm on the roof of the Nether at the upper build limit. It is incredible, but also something I really love. It gives so much experience so fast that getting experience back after dying isn't a big deal. I realized that if I was going to reach my true potential in my solo world, I needed a way to get experience fast. I didn't think it made sense to go for the massive farm my friends built, since it would be a huge project, and they built it with multiple people, and I was just me. So I decided to look for smaller ones. I looked up ones that featured cave spiders, since I had found that spawner, and I found this one by Kmond, so I decided to build it. Long story short, things didn't turn out well. Day 54 is when construction on the farm began by gathering the necessary materials. I began clearing out the area around the spawner, but during that process, somehow a cave spider got to me. I was so surprised, since I was certain I had totally torched it, that I panicked and died right at the end of day 54. My first death of the 100 days. No big deal though, right? My goal of this farm was to make it so that deaths were a smaller deal. So once it was done, I'd just get all my experience back. I still don't know where that cave spider came from though. I double checked. I had totally torched that spawner, so my best guess is that it got in through a gap in the wall I was building and came from elsewhere. Or was it a glitch? I don't know. I started day 55 by fetching my stuff, then continued on my work. I then spent all of days 55, 56, 57, and 58 building the farm with no sleeping during the process. Building the farm took far longer than it does in the tutorial video because my building spot had a lava vein in it. A lava vein I was forced to convert to obsidian and mine out one layer at a time. By the time I finished this farm, I had more than a stack of obsidian. Do you realize how much time that takes and how tedious that was? Oh my god. Once the farm was done, I built a ladder all the way to the surface, a process I thought was occurring on day 58, but was actually occurring on day 59. Upon getting out, I had to deal with monsters at my house, but finally I was able to sleep until day 60. But now the farm's done, right? all is good.
Right?
I just have to go back to the farm and use it and get my level back up to 30, then enchant some stuff. Right? I spent the morning of day 60 tending to my farms and cows, then headed down to the spider farm to finally get some experience. I then spent the rest of day 60, including the night, and all of day 61, day and night, doing nothing but killing these godforsaken spiders. It took me 2 iron swords and 40 tedious minutes to get back to just level 30, not even above it. And then, day 62 started, the worst day of the entire 100. Like day 50 before it, multiple monsters, including a creeper, were surrounding my house when I woke up. I bravely headed out and dispatched one creeper. Another one and a skeleton were there, and I fought them off. I felt safe and realized I needed to put more torches around my house, and then while I was
Watch
in the
this
middle
screen
of
for
that,
the moment.
a creeper I never saw blew up right
Let me
behind me,
rewind that.
fought them off. I felt
Let me
safe and realized I needed to put more
pause here for a
torches
moment.
around my house,
Watch
and then while I was in the
this.
middle of that, a creeper I never saw, another one and a skeleton were there, and I fought them off. I felt safe and realized I needed to put more torches around my house, and then while I was in the middle of that,
Look at there. There's a creeper on this side of him. He doesn't see it because it blends in so well with the grass and trees. And it blows up and kills him. Watch.
a creeper I never saw blew up right behind me, killing me instantly. If you look at the footage closely, you can see it appear on the right side of the screen for less than a second, but its green color blends right in with the grass and trees. This meant that the explosion came out of nowhere. I had no warning whatsoever, which means with the snap of a finger, 40 mind-numbing minutes of work on the spider farm were wiped out. I had already had a bad day that day due to non-Minecraft reasons, so the fact that this happened on that day was just poetically brutal. It really affected me. I don't know if you could tell, but I'm getting genuinely tense recalling this story. Like, I was so upset, I didn't record Minecraft again for almost a week. Small related tangent here, but creepers are the worst part of Minecraft, in my personal opinion. I know they're an iconic part of it, but I hate them with a fiery passion. They can destroy your stuff,
with the
which
snap
to
of a
my knowledge
finger,
no other mob can do.
Enderman
And the
can.
fact that they just explode means that they can kill you instantly with
take
no
a look.
warning, like what happened to me. Other mobs can start hitting you, and then you have a chance to react and see how well you do under pressure. But creepers are just like,
It's just not fun.
it's just not fun. During those days away from Minecraft, I didn't know what to do. I had to figure out what to do next. The spider farm that I spent so long on turned out not to be an effective way of getting experience back. I wanted to get some high-level enchantments to make me stronger in combat, but I had to do combat to do that, which I was
Peep the cast forms in the back. Hell yeah. Hail. 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 Before you say something about that in the comments, don't. Because there's a hail form, cast form. Hail, yeah. Sun form, sun, yeah. And rain, yeah. And then none, yeah.
afraid of because I might die and lose all my experience.
And there's a
I was so
torque over there.
frustrated by this situation that I even
Chat,
considered
that's
turning
a
keep
torque
inventory on, but then decided against it thanks to some recommendations from my good friend Pokemon7, because I was worried it would make the content worse, and he agreed with me. But eventually, it clicked.
Wanna
I
make
built the spider
one
farm
Magma?
as an easier version of my friend's nether roof zombie piglin farm. But why go easier? If they built the zombie piglin farm, why couldn't I? I originally didn't want to make the nether roof farm due to fear of dying during the building process and the time it would take to do so. But I realized if I succeeded in building it, then any deaths during the building process
Did
would
not matter because you
I just get my
get your experience back, yeah.
And then as for the time it would take, I still had 39 days left. And thus, the rest of the 100 days became a race to finish the Nether Roof Experience Farm. The rest of day 62 and all of day 63 were spent around the house, mainly unloading torches everywhere and getting more steak in preparation for a new journey. On day 64, I set out on another one of my journeys through the wilderness, this time with the goal of finding a jungle.
Scaffolding.
The Nether Roof Experience Farm design that my friends used, and that I used by extension after I asked one of them which one they used, was from this video by Waddles. It is built extremely high up, at build limit for the Nether, which means I had to have a way to get up there. And the best way to get up there is scaffolding. I could have used blocks and ladders, but that would be far more time-consuming and require a lot more materials. So scaffolding is definitely the way to go. However, to build scaffolding, you need bamboo, and I didn't have any bamboo, so I had to find a jungle. Day 64 was spent entirely on this journey, heading generally northeast since I had yet to go that direction from my house. At the very end of it, I found yet another ruined nether portal and slept beside it. At the start of day 65, I looted its chest and magma blocks. I was gonna need a lot of magma blocks, but left the crying obsidian for the time being. I continued onward, then stumbled upon a taiga village, the first non-plains village I had found. I looted it, including taking a stone cutter, but oddly didn't find any villagers for a decent chunk of time. Eventually they showed up though, and I spent the rest of the day there looting, eventually spending the night there. On day 64 I continued onward, then about halfway through the day I was thrilled to finally find a jungle. The first bamboo I found turned out to be right next to a spider spawner, but after some anxiety-inducing combat, I lit up the spawner and cave so nothing else would bother me. The day was closing out though, so I made myself a mini base and spent the night in a self-built cave. The first half of day 67 was spent prancing around the jungle, looking for anything interesting in the distance, and harvesting quite a lot more bamboo. I spent the second half of the day journeying back toward home, eventually spending the night along the way. On day 68, I continued, stopping by the ruined portal to grab the crying obsidian, then found another ruined portal on a cliffside. Is it normal to find this many? This makes 4, one of them being a huge one. I don't know. I looted its magma blocks and crying obsidian, dealt with several monsters that came down to the nearby cave, then continued on my way. I got a bit lost in the process of getting back and spent another night out in the wilds. I spent the first half of the nice day getting back home, and then spent the second half planting my new bamboo and organizing my goodies from my trip. Days 70 and 71 were spent building, then getting the sheep for a sheep pen. I wanted a consistent source of wool because I intended to make several beds. Also during this, I periodically harvested quite a lot of the shockingly fast-growing bamboo. Day 72 was a big day. After some inventory management and bed construction, I built my first nether portal right next to my house and entered the nether for the first time, and immediately left because I got scared. The cry of a ghast is just petrifying. I steeled my nerves though and headed back in and made my way to a wall. I dug in, then up, until I reached the bedrock ceiling. I placed a bed, put a block in my way to keep me from entering the bed, then blew it up. Fun fact, for a long time, I didn't know how people blew up beds in the nether without actually entering them until I watched a video on how to do this get through the roof of the nether thing, and I saw someone place the block and it kept from getting in the bed. So look at me, I'm learning.
You're learning.
I was able to find a high enough bedrock block on the first explosion though, so the other beds didn't end up being needed. So I headed back home and went to bed, grabbing the supplies I needed for my roof phasing at the start of day 73. I got up to the highest level, placed a rail and minecart, then tried to survive my attempts to phase myself through the roof. This took ages. The idea behind this strategy is to get into the too-high minecart, start suffocating, phase through the roof a bit, place a rail, do it again, place a minecart on the rail, and then do it again and get into the minecart that is on the roof of the nether with the bedrock ceiling and everything. However, the trick with it is that you suffocate during the process, which means you only have a few seconds before your health gets too low, and you have to stop, eat, heal, and wait to try again. And I had to do so much trying again. Side note, I know there's a strategy where you use like a ladder and like an ender pearl to like just kind of throw yourself through. I didn't have an ender pearl, and I was scared to fight endermen, okay? My friends used the minecart strategy, so I thought it would work for me too. During my attempts, I never actually saw the ceiling, which was really odd since videos of attempts that I watched would get brief views of the ceiling. During the process, it turns out I actually placed a rail at one point, but I didn't notice for a while since I never saw it placed. I only realized the number went down on my inventory bar later. I spent all of day 73 and most of day 74 trying and failing to get on the roof, not seeing the roof a single time. I tried turning off my shaders in a different spot, but still couldn't get it. Eventually, though, I found a video where someone uses a boat in a more open area instead of a minecart, and this worked immediately. I was so stunned and unprepared for this that I didn't have another boat to place on the roof, so I panicked a bit and suffocated to death. I ran back in, only to run back because I realized I needed a second boat. At sunrise on day 75, I entered the nether, re-entered the first boat, and immediately phased through, finally reaching the ceiling and recovering all my stuff. Quick side note, something I noticed after writing this video and watching this footage back is that I didn't actually use the second boat to get on the roof because I was too panicked to make sure I had it in my hand, and instead just placed a block. I have no idea how it worked out, but hey, at least it did. If you want to do this yourself, just use the boat strategy. The minecart strategy did nothing but waste my food and my time. Once I was on the roof, I needed to build a portal back down, but I didn't want to build one at my base equivalent coordinates, since I already had that portal in the actual bottom nether at the same place. So if I built one both on the roof and the bottom nether, both would link to the one by my house and things would get wonky. So after I finally turned my shaders back on, I ran a decent ways away to ensure I had a way back to the roof. I built a portal and teleported back to the overworld on top of a tree and substantially further away than I desired, but hey, at least it worked. It was then time to do some nether portal nonsense to make sure the portal next to my base would go up to the portal on the roof, not the portal I had built in the Soul Sand Valley. I built a new portal atop my villager home. Remember them? Oh, I spent all that time on them, and now I'm just ignoring them. How time flies. But it was too close to the first one and linked to the original portal. I broke that one and built another one over by the mountains, and this one created a new portal close by the first one within the Soul Sand Valley. I broke the original one, went back to the overworld, and slept until day 76. I then trekked back to my treetop portal, went to the ceiling, built a new portal at my base equivalent coordinates, and success! The portal next to my house now connected onto the roof, and only the roof, and I had the one in the mountains to get to the actual nether whenever I wanted. The rest of day 76 was farm maintenance and cooking. On day 77, I made a ton of slabs and harvested a lot of bamboo. I then went to the ceiling to find a nether wastes biome to build my XP farm within, since my default ceiling location was the Soul Sand Valley and the farm has to be in nether wastes. On day 78, when I was in the middle of crafting scaffolding using my bamboo and some string from my spider farm, this happened. What the f***? A creeper I never saw blew up inside my house, in my home, in the middle of the day. I hate creepers. If there is a mod that can remove them, specifically from the game, I might install it. I don't know. Not for this series, but like for my own personal playing time. They suck. The stupid green fun stealer didn't kill me, but it blew out most of my second floor, part of the stairs and wall, and a good chunk of the first floor. Based on the blast pattern, I theorized it had spawned within my top floor, which is ridiculous because there were torches all over the place. Walked down the stairs and blew up as it was descending them, hence why the blast pattern didn't make a deeper hole in the ground. I had to spend the rest of day 78 repairing my house and throwing a bunch of torches all over the interior, and I did not enjoy it. Finally, on day 79, it was farm construction time. I crafted a ton of scaffolding, went over to my build spot, and stacked them all the way up to build limit. I then climbed all the way up, which makes you unable to see the floor about halfway, which is pretty unnerving. I then spent the rest of day 79 and all of days 80 and 81 building the ring ceiling of slabs, intended to prevent ghasts from spawning. This took so long because it's a ton of pieces, and I was constantly pausing to reference the video. I made a few mistakes with the exact dimensions from Waddle's video, but I figured as long as the lower layers matched up to the ceiling, I would be fine. On day 82, I began a journey into the actual under nether, since that was the easiest way to get magma blocks. I found a lava lake and mined them for a while, eventually having a close call with lava rushing in. I tried to redirect the lava fall that caused the close call and royally screwed up, nearly killing myself in the process, but saving myself by eating a golden apple. Also, shout out to chests for being lava proof, My diamond pickaxe was in there for safekeeping, and I thought I'd lost it. Day 83 was more magma block mining, this time more cautiously, and at the end of that day I returned home to unload my haul so far and sleep for the first time in many in-game days. While home I crafted a respawn anchor using some of my crying obsidian and some glowstone blocks I crafted from the dust I got while in the nether. And then I decided to actually enchant things? The whole time before this, I hadn't enchanted a single thing, because I wanted to get max level enchantments, but I could never make it to level 30. But then I realized, if the whole project I'm embarking on is to make it so I can get experience back quickly, then why not spend my levels in the meantime on making the mining process of magma blocks easier? I enchanted an iron pickaxe, but didn't have enough levels to enchant any armor. So I headed back into the nether, charged up my respawn anchor, and began mining more magma blocks. I spent the rest of day 84 and all of day 85 doing this, eventually having to return home during day 86, since my pickaxe was almost dead. I did a small bit of EXP grinding at the spider farm, did a small bit of enchanting with lower level boosts, and slept. I spent all of day 87 in the mine shaft since I'd gotten very low on iron. I also explored it more fully since I'd gotten more confident in combat due to the skeletons I was fighting in the Soul Sand Valley every single time I headed through it. I even found a skeleton spawner that I torched up. I'll just tell you guys now, the diamonds I found on day 22 were the last diamonds I found in the entire 100 days. To be fair, I didn't spend a whole lot of time looking for them, but still, you would have thought I would have found some more than just 6. After a night spent in the bed next to the spider spawner, I spent day 88 smelting my iron, enchanting more stuff, and doing farm maintenance until nightfall. Once night arrived, I returned to the experience farm to begin the Magma ring, working into day 89. I foolishly built my way out to it using spawnable blocks, since my spawnable paths while building the ceiling didn't cause any issues. So a ghast spawned and killed me. I had to run all the way back from the spider farm back to the XP farm, but thankfully I got all my stuff back, and after some resupply trips, I replaced the walkway with non-spawnable slabs. I then spent all of days 90 and 91, plus a chunk of day 92, building the first magma ring. And while I finished most of it, I didn't have enough blocks to totally finish it, despite all my time mining. It became apparent that I would not have time to build all 3 magma rings that both Waddles and my friends use in their farms, because it would take too long to mine all the magma blocks. I had less than 10 days left, and I couldn't even finish one ring despite all the mining I had done before. I was feeling pretty down about this. It was clear that my goal of finishing the farm before the 100 days were up would be impossible. But then, this is a completely true story, while I was up in the middle of the night to pee, delirious and barely awake, I thought to myself, while sitting on the toilet at 3 in the morning, why not just build one magma ring? It wouldn't be as much experience, but it would still be a lot, and it would make it so I could finish it in time and get a working version of the farm before the 100 days were up, and then I could just add more layers in a sequel video if that happened. Which, if you want to see it happen, let me know, share the video, you know all the things. I still wanted to fill in the hole left in the first layer though, so in the second part of day 92, I returned to the nether to mine more magma blocks, getting more than I needed since I figured why not get them for future layers while I was there. On day 93, I returned to the ceiling and filled out the rest of the magma ring. I then spent the rest of day 93, all of days 94 and 95, and part of day 96 building the main platform for me where I would actually collect the experience, the pathways for the zombie piglins to run across, which I built low enough to future-proof for future layers, and the lower layer collection area for the gold and other items that they would drop. Most of this was built out of andesite slabs, which isn't the prettiest thing out there, but I had a bunch of andesite already on hand, and that made things a lot faster, which mattered since I was running out of time. And then finally, on day 96, it was time to test it. I fired an arrow at a piglin, and they all came running along the walkways to me, where they fell into an inescapable hole where I could begin attacking them. My friend's farm uses 24 minecarts all stacked on top of each other in the same spot, so that whenever the piglins show up, entity cramming damage immediately kills them, but I didn't have time to get all the iron necessary for that. It worked wonderfully, and I spent a large chunk of day 96 killing them and getting myself to level 31. It took longer than I thought it would, but I suppose it just takes more time when you have fewer magma layers. And then I descended to the lower layer to check how the chests had filled up and was brutally informed that I had messed up. 2 zombie piglins somehow got down there and killed me instantly, since I wasn't wearing my armor to protect it in case of a fall. This was an unfortunate revelation, but then when I returned to pick up my stuff, I discovered a ton of experience and other items sitting at the bottom of the farm atop the roof of the Nether. Enough to get me to level 19 instantly. Zombie piglins getting into the farm? Bad. Zombie piglin items and experience falling off the farm instead of going into me or the treasure chests? Also bad. The realization that the zombie piglins were generating far more experience than I thought they were, which means I could level up way faster if I just modified the build a little bit? Very, very good. Hail yeah, and so forth. After spending a bit of time inspecting the farm that my friends built, I suspected I had 2 issues with my farm. That my platform wasn't big enough, and that my pit for the zombie piglins wasn't deep enough. These are 2 things that could result in the zombie piglins falling off the top layer, especially when hit by the sword, and then they either fall down to the floor, or they get into the bottom layer where the treasure chests are. So on day 97, I expanded the platform, deepened their pit, and modified the barrier a bit to make sure the experience within it easily flowed to me. I nervously tested it again, and it worked like a charm, getting me experience substantially faster than the first time. As day 97 crossed over into day 98, I got myself from level 19 to the high end of 37 relatively quickly. I had successfully completed a working version of the Nether Roof Experience Farm with a few days to spare. I returned home and finally did some high-level enchantments, some of them on armor, but more importantly on 2 bows. I had been hiding from ghasts all the time I was in the Nether because I didn't have a good way to fight them from a distance, because I didn't trust myself to whack their attacks back at them. So I really wanted a power infinity bow. I got an infinity one and a power unbreaking one, but I didn't have an anvil to combine them. After making some golden carrots from the golden nuggets obtained from the farm, I slept to day 99. The next day I cleared out my crops, then went into the mine shaft to get enough iron for an anvil, and to try to find some diamonds. I did not. Found plenty of emeralds, though. At least the combat within the mine shaft was much less scary thanks to my beefed-up armor. I returned home, smelted my iron, built the anvil, and combined my bows into a super bow. Side note, the anvil mechanics in Minecraft are so dumb. It was an enchantment cost of 14 to combine them, but then just switching them dropped it to 9. Like, I get that it matters which one's in the first slot and which is in the second, but why does it matter? I slept and awoke on the final day with the goal of using my nether ceiling to make a shortcut to somewhere random and far away. I mined down the above villager's portal, then got 1 more obsidian piece from the lava pool under my base, which I finally partially cooled. I had to do this because I left the rest of my obsidian in a chest in the nether near my respawn anchor, in case my portal ever broke and I needed a way back. I then headed into the nether and ran really far in a random direction, like 1,000 blocks in the nether far away, which converts to 8,000 in the overworld. Eventually I was worried I was running out of time and stopped and built a portal. It spat me out at night on the coastline of a Badlands biome, a biome I had never found in Minecraft before. As I fought the monsters, I saw right nearby were a savanna and desert, 2 biomes I hadn't found in all these 100 days, along with a desert temple and a desert village. A super exciting spot to end up in. As I raced to find a bed in the village, I accidentally upset an enderman who got really close to killing me before I got inside a building. I hopped out to kill it using a boat, but then the iron golem beat me to the punch. I collected its ender pearl, my very first one, and slept in a random villager's bed, bringing my 100 days to a close, 8,000 blocks from home. Clearly, there's more to be done, like exploring the new area, finishing the XP farm, suiting up in diamonds, doing something with the villagers, and heck, maybe even beating the Ender Dragon. So if you enjoyed this video and want to see me continue in this world on camera, make sure to like the video, and comment, and subscribe, and
do that for this video too.
share it, just If it does well, I definitely want to do it again, because I'm more excited to play it now, because now I have a way to easily get my experience back. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video very soon.
Peace out.